Welcome to the Punzi Grange. The bees are busy on my Marion Berries here, and the reason we're here today is because I wanted to go back to a previous segment. Maybe you remember when I was here setting up structures for my blackberries and raspberries. And here we actually have a Marion berry, which over the past year has grown quite a bit. If you remember last year's segment, they were pretty small, and over last season they grew very long, and I trained them. Now if you remember last year, we used these metal posts that have the little grooves in them, and we use this 16 gauge wire for supports going at intervals. But I found out that because I have such heavy soil with lots of rocks in it, that I couldn't get them in deep enough to keep them from wobbling under the weight. So what I did is I added these 2x2s supports in and screwed them in, and now it's nice and solid. You can see the bees are busy, and I just wanted to show you this. And what I did was I trailed the vines because they're very long. They're longer than the height of the cage. And so what I did is I looped them up and down as long as they are, and I used these lever loops. Let me pull one off so you can take a look at it. These are called lever loops. They're imported from England, and they are just made out of plastic, and you can just take them on and holds it right in place. And so what we'll do next time, we'll come back and I'll show you when we're ready to harvest and show you what a nice juicy Marion berry looks like. Now we're going to take a look in the other section of the Punzi Grange and talk about deadheading. When we think about deadheading, one of the plant groups that comes to mind are bulbs. Bulbs that you plant in the fall and flower in the spring. And a lot of people ask me questions, what do we do with them once they're finished flowering? Because they're not, as attractive as they were, and we'd like to do something with them. But you don't want to cut them down completely. What you want to do is a process called deadheading, and then let the foliage take care of itself. And once it's turned yellow and brown, you can cut it down. But until then, what you want to do is take care of the seed pods. And this is actually Tulip turkestana, and it's actually a fragrant tulip, which is really why I like it. And you can see this is one that I left so you can see how big the pods get. And you can imagine how much energy goes into creating that pod. If we take the pods off before they form, what's going to happen is all this energy is going to be shunted into the growth of the plant and into storage for next year. And what's good about that is that means that you may get 1 or 2 more flowers or even bigger flowers, because right now you want to leave the leaves on is because you're getting all the energy down into the bulbs again. It's getting ready for next year's floral display, so you don't want to shortchange that. Now, bulbs are not the only thing you want to deadhead. You can also deadhead shrubs and climbers, flowering climbers, and different plants. So we're going to take a look at my roses. I'm going to show you how to deadhead the roses as well. So why don't we go over to my Rosa rugosa. And here is one of my favorite rugosa roses. This is called Agnes. Beautiful yellow flowers, and the fragrance just can't be beat. It's really sweet smelling. And this is what you would call a remontant rose, which means that it blooms a big floral display in the spring. And then it will repeat bloom through the summer. But we can promote repeat blooming by taking care of the rose hips that are forming, which is are the seed pods, similar to our bulbs. So this is a shrub now that we're deadheading. And if we look here, you can see the spent flowers, and you can see the hips starting to form. So what I'm going to do is just come in underneath, you leave the leaves there, and just trim that off. Same thing here. And it makes the plants look better as well, cleans them up nice, and then we'll get more blooms coming on. Now, there are other shrubs that only bloom once, like say kalmias or rhododendrons or hydrangeas. You can deadhead those as well. And the reason is that next year, just like the bulbs, they'll put the energy into leaves, and then next year you'll have a better bloom period. So you want to do that. You can do that with climbers as well. So remember that. Blooming plants like to be trimmed. Annuals as well. If you have annuals. Now annuals have only 1 year to get through their whole life cycle. So what you're going to do is as they fade, you trim them, and then you'll get more blooms throughout the whole season as they try, desperately to get their seeds sown, okay? So until next time, this is Peter Punzi. Live long and garden.